Okay, I'm back. Let's see if we can get this to work this time. I had real trouble with the last stream, but I tested it offline and it worked. Otherwise, it's just not meant to be, and we won't be doing that. Maybe the ghost of Nick Sarwark is keeping me from doing this show. Well, since I just did a show earlier, yes, I am repeating what I said last stream. We're starting this over. The only kind of promo I'm going to do at the beginning of the show is ask my Libertarian Party friends if you would please consider supporting my re-election bid for secretary by donating to my campaign. The link is right there, tinyurl.com/LNC secretary. I would truly, truly appreciate it. Okay, let's set this up. So, our former, I don't know how many formers, we go back now. Nicholas Sarwark was recently on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Now, that right there is a bit bizarre. And one reason it's a bit bizarre is because supposedly it was to give a take on the Libertarian Party's chances with this just wild and crazy election. He hasn't been a spokesperson for the Libertarian Party for a while, but he obviously has connections with Morning Joe. Morning Joe did a interview with Gary Johnson. I mean, they built up a relationship, so that's not really all that crazy, but you would think that if MSNBC really wanted to hear the Libertarian Party's perspective, they would actually pick someone who is not currently pretty much a pariah within the Libertarian Party. I don't know the current Libertarian Party chair, but she would not parrot the regime talking points the way Nicholas Sarwark did. Now, I've known Nick a long time, and watching that video, as I said, just seriously gave me creeps. The uncanny valley creeps. Just the weird mannerisms and the regime talking points coming out of his pie hole. And it seems like a coordinated effort all of a sudden that all of the more regime, quote-unquote, libertarians are all parroting this, oh, we've got to have Nikki Haley as the Republican nominee instead of Trump thing. Nikki Haley is a blood-soaked monster. How much of Trump derangement syndrome do you have to be promoting Nikki Haley? Are you out of your mind? Like, literally, what is your malfunction? Treason was doing it. I'm not even going to mention some of the other names that those of you who inhabit the Twitterverse will know was doing it. Since when was Libertarians for Nikki Haley a thing? So let's see if we can now pull up this clip, shall we? And we will talk about it. But the first thing you'll notice, if I can get it pulled up, that the banner along the bottom just featured prominently the Libertarian Party. But again, Nick's not a spokesperson for the Libertarian Party. He is I don't know what his official position is, but he has a libertarian think tank. So again, I mean, he is a spokesperson for at least his own libertarian think tank. But just so strange they didn't actually talk to an official representative of the Libertarian Party. But then again, to the corrupt media, you know, Angela is known for saying, you know, say hello to your Luciferian masters for me. So, you know, maybe that's a reason. But let's see if we can pull this clip up now and how you guys might feel about it. Maybe it's just me. Listen, I'm fine with you telling me I'm not being fair, but I think I am. What do you think, Nick?
Yes, Ms. Harlos.
Okay, we're that clip, just like objection speculative, is going to go into heavy rotation. So let's see if we can pull this up now. No, it's doing it again. It's my Twitter. Come on now. I do not mind that you all see my Twitter since it's public. Anyway, okay, I think we've got it now. Yes, we've got it now. Let me put my video up here. Here we go. Put that right there. And let's see if we get sound this time.
New Hampshire. Our next guest says a rematch between President Biden and Donald Trump is going to actually offer the best chance in a generation for a libertarian presidential nominee. Let's bring in the executive director of the Libertarian Policy Institute, Nick Sarwark. Nick, thanks so much for being with us. I want to talk about New Hampshire.
Okay, let's stop here for 1 second because, again, I don't want copyright strikes. And, God, that's always such an unfortunate freeze. That always happens. I'm not making fun of anybody, for having an unfortunate freeze frame. That happens with everyone. But notice down at the bottom, the banner is potential impact of a libertarian presidential nominee. So you would think that would be the topic, that we're going to talk about the libertarian presidential nominees. And we have a whole field of them. I was at a convention this weekend where they had a debate. But let's continue. And I need to put my main mic on mute so it doesn't echo so weirdly. But let's go back.
Hampshire first. Again, last night, hearing from a lot of New Hampshire pros on both the Democratic and the Republican side, saying that they see a weakness in Donald Trump there and that Nikki Haley has a shot. What's your view? Do you think Haley does have a good chance of winning the Republican primary?
From on the ground here in Manchester, I've been watching this. I have a bird's eye view of it every 4 years.
Okay, gonna stop. Okay, maybe I'm being unkind, but the mannerisms are just so strange. I feel like I gave this example in Arizona. I feel like I'm an invasion of the body snatchers, and this is the substitute Nick. Now, I'm not saying that the real one would have been much better, but there is just something unnervingly different. I'm expecting Donald Sutherland to come out, pointing at me with the shriek. There's just something super uncanny valley. And yeah, I've been observing this from on the ground here. Dude, you are not in, you have your Libertarian Policy Institute. Never take that away from you. But you're not well liked amongst the libertarians there. Let's just put it lightly. And you're not feared by any saplings in New Hampshire. But let's continue.
Nikki Haley is on track to have a solid second place finish behind Donald Trump because it's New England, and in New England, Trumpism is not as popular as it is in the Midwest. But the truth of the matter is, as you talked about in one of the earlier segments, America is built on an ideal that all men are created equal. And that idea, if you're willing to abide by that and the rule of law, you can come here and become an American. It's very inclusive and welcoming.
And what does any of that have to do with potential impact of a libertarian presidential nominee on this election? Why is he touting Nikki Haley as going to be this strong contender? Now, potentially she will come in second place in New Hampshire. I don't know. We just now saw from the Iowa caucuses, she came in third. She came in third in Iowa. Ron DeSantis came in second. But despite all the maneuvering, it's so obvious that the regime media is so desperate not to have Trump that they will take neocon Nikki Haley.
And there's always been a counter strain in American politics of nativism and exclusion and polarization, intimidation and violence. Periodically through our history, these waves come.
And I'm stopping every few minutes because I do not want to get sued by get a copyright strike. They wouldn't literally sue a small creator like me. So Nikki Haley isn't promoting violence at all. This is just absolutely crazy. Nick with his social justice rhetoric, and he is, he has full-blown Trump derangement. I don't care for Donald Trump, but most of the rhetoric against him is just complete bullshit. The thing to have mostly against Trump is that he's not a conservative. So if you are a conservative, he simply isn't a conservative. And no matter how much he's trying to retcon this, he's the one who kept Fauci in power. He's the one who didn't get rid of all the corrupt swamp creatures that he said he would do. Now, the funny thing is, and I think it was Dave Smith that said this, there's certainly a lot of terrible policies that Trump had to hate, but the regime hates him even for the few good policies he had.
And that's what Trump has tapped into with an incredible focus. And I think the real challenge for Nikki Haley here and anywhere past here is she is unwilling to confront the lack of integrity, the hypocrisy, the fighting against the 14th Amendment, part of our Constitution that was fought over in the Civil War, that
Okay. We went over the 14th Amendment thing. That is complete crap, and any alleged libertarian that is trying to put that forward against Trump they're completely out of their tree. And why are you so concerned about what Nikki Haley is refusing to do? You're talking about hypocrisy. She sits on the board of a defense contractor. Why are you carrying water for Nikki Haley, Nick? Very libertarian, much libertarian, so libertarian.
Donald Trump represents. And so I don't think she can close the deal, not with the 25% of the just over 20% of Americans who still identify as Republicans, but with the 49% of Americans who believe in integrity and values and the rule of law. Her promise to pardon Donald Trump, I think, is a non-starter for voters like that.
So he is all about going after one's political opponents. Like, this is just disgusting coming from someone who is claiming the mantle of libertarian. You do not have to like Donald Trump to see that this is complete garbage. I can't stand the Republican Party, and I can't stand Donald Trump. But he is not the huge boogeyman that people have made him out to be. And certainly not to the point where you'll be lamenting that it's not Nikki Haley.
And so, Nick, let me ask you about opportunities for the Libertarian Party. You believe that a matchup between Donald Trump and Joe Biden offers the Libertarian Party the best chance, the nominee the best chance in over a generation. I am curious, how many disaffected Republicans have you heard from over the past several years that, and I've been saying this for 20 years, when Republicans are in the White House, they spend more money than Democrats. For small government conservatives, libertarians like you, that may not be saying much, but you look at deficits and debt under George Bush, they exploded to record heights. And then you look at Donald Trump, who promised to balance the budget, pay down the debt, pay off the debt. It was preposterous. The biggest deficits in U.S. history, the biggest national debt in U.S. history, and Donald Trump over 4 years, added to the national debt more than every American president from our founding to like 2004. So tell me.
Don't you find it funny just the way this MSNBC talking head isn't dealing with the utter failures of Biden either, and its criticisms of Trump are at least on those grounds are are fine. Like they're spot on. So now halfway through, we're finally getting into where Nick is asked a question about the Libertarian presidential nominee, which is supposedly what this whole segment is about. But the question then immediately veered off into, again, legitimate criticisms of Trump, but wildly one-sided because you're not dealing with the complete car wreck that is Joe Biden. But let's see the answer now when he was finally asked about the Libertarian presidential nominee. Is he going to spend a lot of time talking about our actual nominees, even if he doesn't like them all? I know there's at least one of the candidates, perhaps two, that he actually does like. Let's see.
What is an opportunity to take Republican votes away from a party that spins, as I say, like drunken socialists when they're in power and when they run Washington, and get them to vote Libertarian?
The opportunity comes from basically 50 years of work that the party's been doing, over 50 years of work, to be on every American's ballot. We've been on the ballot in 2016 and 2020 in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. And at this point, Donald Trump has driven out of the Republican Party the kind of pro-business, pro-market, pro-gay rights.
Okay, let's stop a second. He had the opportunity there to talk about the horrific ballot censorship, particularly in New York, that might, our goal is to get 50+1 ballot access, but that might keep us off the ballot there. He had such a wonderful opportunity, but instead he decided that he was going to get back into just bashing Trump because that's what the MSNBC masters want him to do. But I'm really curious. Okay, you said the party's been working for 50 years. You didn't say anything negative. That is wonderful. So 5 seconds out of this, maybe you actually talked about the party, then you veered off into Trump. Let's see if you're going to actually talk about the party again. And why are we worried about Republican voters? Why are we worried about the MSNBC agenda of quote unquote stealing votes away from the Republican Party? That's not our goal. Our goal is to turn this country around from both corrupt sides.
Pro-immigration, pluralistic, middle-of-the-road, normal American who just wants to build a good life and a good company and wants lower taxes and smarter government spending on things we agree on, they don't have a place to go right now. And going into what is going to be a rematch between two previous presidents in recent memory, both of whom have high negatives, the opportunity for a candidate who's on all 50 state ballots, who has a pro-human, pro-American unifying message is huge. And I look at Mark Cuban.
Oh, so you're going to now pivot into talking about somebody who's not even a nominee and isn't a libertarian, even remotely. Nick has had a hard-on for Mark Cuban for a long time. Mr. getting all upset because Elon Musk called him out on DEI, Mark Cuban. You think he would talk about one of our actual nominees? Because this is supposed to be what this is about, but he pivots over to the bromance with Mark Cuban.
And some of the stuff he's done recently on DEI and solving a part of the healthcare crisis with his cost-plus drugs. And someone like that, if they wanted to enter into this arena, would have an incredible chance in 2024. Although it does seem like he's more interested in Texas than the national scene right now.
Yeah,
He was literally asked about the Libertarian presidential nominee and spent his time talking about DEI Mark Cuban. You can't make this shit up. And this isn't an unfortunate freeze. I didn't catch somebody mid-blink or with a weird grimace. That's the shit-eating look he had the entire time.
That would be absolutely fascinating. Let's have you come back and talk about that some more. Executive Director of the Libertarian Policy Institute, Nick Sarwark, thank you so much for being with us. It's great to see you again.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Hold on. Let's go back. I want to. Oh, let me close that screen. Okay. That was painful. That was painful. That was so woodenly painful. But the whole segment was supposed to be about the Libertarian presidential nominee, and he didn't name not one of them. Not one of them. There were only 3 names that he mentioned, and they are all regime favorites. Well, one of them's not. One of them's the regime favorite to hate. He mentioned Nikki Haley. He mentioned Trump over and over, and Mark Cuban, when the whole segment was supposed to be about the Libertarian presidential nominee. And he mentioned not one of them. Not even the one, which I'm not going to mention the name here now because I don't want to associate a good candidate, someone who's been campaigning hard, with such a horrible interview, but one that I know he supports. Why? Why would you squander that opportunity? And why would MSNBC have you on to talk about the Libertarian Party presidential nominee when you don't even mention them? You mention somebody that's not even our nominee. Not even our nominee. Though Nick would love him to be, and he's probably trying to court him behind the scenes. But Nick, baby doll, even you aren't delusional enough to think that Mark Cuban could get our nomination. I think RFK Jr. could get our nomination easier than Mark Cuban, and I've already done multiple shows on how there's not a snowball's chance in hell of that, in my opinion. He touted DEI as a plus. And y'all wonder why Reno happened. That, my friends, is why Reno happened. All right, that's it for this evening. I hope you have an awesome night. Do not know if I'll be doing a show tomorrow night, but if I do, it will be on history. We need to get back on to LP history. I am regularly uploading shorts, though, so please check them out because I tend to word the title so that it draws in Trumpians. I got some Trumpians in this last one that are mad at me because I said that I said the Republican Party and Trump has bent over the Libertarian Party. And these people, these duopoly people that are commenting, and I'm not saying they're bad people, they just have no clue as to just the horrible ballot access laws and what an opportunity we have right now with the crap that's going on with Colorado and Maine trying to throw Trump off the ballot. And again, I shed no tears for him, but I am using it to heighten awareness as to how absolutely crooked our system is. But in any event, I hope you have an awesome night. Again, tinyurl.com/LNC Secretary would truly appreciate it. Have a good evening. Mi guapas de libertad.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because they want to